Happy Wednesday, everybody. Josh here with On the Wrong Bleed. Another episode of Drank and Champagne, which means I must be joined by the one and only Andrew Champagne. Andrew, how are you doing, my friend?
Say my name and I appear. If you saw it on Twitter, you know exactly what I'm talking about. And Josh, I know that song has not left your head since I first showed it to you. Things are good here, busy but good. Of course, it's a big week at Saratoga. What with Travers week coming up, and of course the Travers coming up on Saturday. But first, we need to traverse through a couple of cards on Wednesday, Thursday, and Friday. Really hoping that this is the pick five that stays on the turf for all five races. The last 2 weeks, it seems as though somebody has had it out for us. 2 weeks ago, we handicapped the pick five, and they take everything off the turf with 15 minutes to post before leg one. Last week, you wound up getting a price home in the first leg. Hit that applause button on your end right now. Come on, right now, before I change my mind. There we go. And then they took everything off the turf. Undesirable situation, to be sure. But given the events of last year, yes, it sucks, but I don't think we can be too hard on Naira for being too, I would say, protective of the turf course and the stuff that happens on that turf course. Certainly Woodbine let them off the hook on Saturday for anything weather or track condition related. They took a lot of heat for that. I understand some of it, but if the jocks are coming back saying the surface is not safe to ride on, Josh, what are they supposed to do?
I mean, it's just not a great situation for
No.
anybody. Obviously, you want every big day to be perfect weather. You want the fans to enjoy it. You want the horses to have the best possible conditions to run in. You want the jocks to have the safest, and the horses, obviously, in the connections. Everyone wants it to be as safe as possible. And when things get unsafe, when the weather gets bad, unfortunately, there's just not much that they can do. And I think last week or 2 weeks ago, when Saratoga moved a couple of the races to Sunday, there wasn't enough time for them, I guess, to set up those like special pick fives or whatever that they figured out a way to do for the next time that they had something like that happen. But when I look at this as a bettor, right, and a fan, obviously you still want there to be hopefully good fields. Obviously, if stuff comes off the turf, if it's not safe, don't run. And obviously, everybody wants to run their big day on the day scheduled. So, sometimes these decisions get left till the very last minute. Unfortunately, it's not like, especially the weather in upstate New York. It's not like a week out they can tell it's absolutely going to bring everything off the turf in 5 days. Let's reschedule it ahead of time. I mean, Andrew, there's been days where we're like, it's going to storm, like everything's coming off the turf, and then it doesn't rain at all. So
Yeah, it's a slippery slope. And in Naira's defense, and I know some people that are listening to this out there, by the way, Josh, I don't know if you know this, we have people that hate listen to this show. I'll tell you more after we get off the air here. But there are going to be people out there saying I'm lobbying for a job with Naira for saying this. I'm not. Naira has no good options in situations where that happens. There are options that suck, and there are options that suck less. It's not a perfect situation. There have been a couple of times where I wish they would have been a little bit more proactive from a communication standpoint. But hey, I'm a communications professional. I'm a stickler for things like that. It's been tough. Really hoping that this week winds up being an uneventful Travers week up until the big race on Saturday where, look, it's an 8-horse field. Maybe I wish there were more in there, but it's hard to say that these aren't the right 8 horses, Josh.
Yeah. And that is I guess the beauty of dirt racing is generally we are able to continue to run on the dirt, even in bad situations with
Fingers,
the
toes, and
weather.
eyes all crossed. I'm throwing salt over my
Yeah.
shoulder as we say this.
Yeah, and I do get the people, and I've definitely been one of them who are like, well, we run on soft turf overseas, and a lot of the top horses that are shipping over here have run in much worse weather than we have. I think the difference is that those places maybe run a short meet that either lasts a couple days or they're running 1 or 2 days a week. Unlike Saratoga, who's running 5 days a week, and the turf course, if they run on that, doesn't have the time to kind of repair and kind of get fixed there. So
There are also factors other than that. There's course configurations, there's drainage. There's also the fact that overseas, horses carry a bit more weight and, as such, go a little bit slower. You see times for some of those longer turf races, it's not uncommon to see fairly high level turf horses need 2 minutes and 40 seconds to go a mile and a half. Over here, if you're going slower than 2:30, you're walking. And we're talking about 240 over there. That's 10 seconds. At 5 lengths a second, that's 50 lengths slower. Time isn't everything, but that's absolutely a factor. And hopefully, we wind up with a situation this week where Mother Nature is kind to upstate New York. Personally, I am hoping Mother Nature is kind on Sunday of this coming weekend. That's when I'm going to be traveling east. I'll be going to New York City for a couple of days, seeing my sister and her kids, and then going up to Saratoga for a couple of days, Thursday through Sunday, flying back here on Monday. So I'm excited for that. Saratoga is a special place. Very grateful that I've been able to get a lot of stuff back to me that I value a lot after the nonsense that happened last year, and we'll leave that right there. As of this recording, we're recording this on Tuesday, August 20th. I am 3 back in the pink sheet. I had a very good week last week. Thank you, Power Squeeze. Thank you very, very much. Very much appreciated that. Yeah, that was fun. Saturday was a very good day. Hopefully, there are more good days coming up in the future as we are up to the last 11 days of the Saratoga meet.
yeah, the Saratoga meet has not been good to me, but luckily today I did hit the late pick four at Assiniboia Downs for $1. So
Attaboy.
got a little bit of bankroll to play around with this week. So that should help. But yeah, why don't we get into this pick five first, and then we'll talk a little bit of Travers, to kind of round out the show here.
Okay,
Um,
before we start, can we both hit this thing?
No, we can't.
Of
But
course.
I'll tell you. I made a concession in the consensus ticket because I see what you did singling, and obviously I did what I normally do is I see a horse that looks like a potential single, I try and beat it. So
Josh needs money.
I gave the people a choice to use all three of the horses that we have in that leg, and it's still a pretty skinny ticket. So
Okay.
we'll talk about it. But
All right.
I thought race 6 to start this off was one of the more challenging races of the sequence. I think the bookend races are very tough, and the best advice I can give for these maiden races, especially at Saratoga, is watch the tote board. If you see something that smells funny, looks funny, it probably is funny, and maybe you take a closer look. But obviously, we're 2 days out handicapping this, so we don't have the benefit of looking at the tote board. But just something to keep in mind. And same thing with the weather, right? As a handicapper and a bettor, you need to be flexible. You need to have your head on the swivel, and you need to be able to zig and zag. So this comes off the turf, and your best opinions are in the turf races. Guess what? You just don't play. Like unfortunately, like that is what it is, and that's what I've had to
Yes,
do.
folks, you are listening to a podcast where a host is advising you not to play a sequence if it does not play to your strengths. You are not hearing things. This is part of what makes us just a teensy weensy bit different than some of the other podcasts that are out there. And also, the whole different thing just generally applies to me as a whole. So there you go.
But yeah, I have not been playing as much Saratoga as I normally do because of the weather. I mean, that's just how it is. Unfortunately, I've played a little bit more Del Mar. I've played, I mean, whatever else might be running at that time if I am looking at something. But I've definitely shifted some to Del Mar. Not that I've done any better at Del Mar, but I've definitely shifted money over there.
All you have to
Um,
do is pick the horse that's in front out of the gate, apparently.
Apparently, I'm having a hard time doing that. So, which is
All
something
your
that I feel
E8s
like
ought to
I'm
be
very
running
good
off
at
the
doing.
screen there, man.
Yeah. But anyways, race six here. We're going to mile and 16th on the inner turf. It's a maiden 80,000 here, and yeah, you have a field of 10 with an AE in the 11, so no MTOs in this race. Um, and your morning line favorite is the 7 Bossy Dish at 3-1. It's a very flat race. You got Tekka at 9-2, Mez California at 4-1, Someone at 5-1, Authenticate Now at 6-1, Lotus Pedal and Annie Good Body at 8-1. So I really feel like there's a lot of horses in here that probably have a shot. I was able to narrow it down to 3 horses that I felt pretty good about. Um, I mean, I think if I had to take a top pick, it would probably be the 5 Mez California in this spot. Last time here at Saratoga, ran on the dirt, and was able to make up some ground. Came from seventh and finished up third. And I kind of took a look at this race, and what I noticed is there weren't a lot of horses that have passed other horses. Obviously, the 9, kind of made up, ended up finishing fifth, past horses, but went from being behind by 9 lengths to losing by 14 lengths. So, not necessarily an impressive, making up of ground. The 7 Bossy Dish, your favorite, I don't have anywhere, seems to have gone backwards in both of her races there. Um, so, I see the 5 Mez California. I see the works. It looks like the horse has been working well. Obviously, the bullet work there with added distance, going that 5 furlong on the training track. And that last race, you see Julian was able to, close some ground going 6 furlongs here at Saratoga. Um, I think the move to turf is going to be just fine. Cold front so far has been 13% first time turf, 25% overall to start his sire career. And so he's been pretty successful early. And then more than ready on the bottom can run on any surface. So, and I think more than ready definitely, mile 16th is kind of what you want to see those more than readies running. So I think that the 5 Mez California, I see a bit of improvement on the turf is one that I've already seen improve her position, and make up some ground in a race. So, landed on Mez California as my top pick, but there's 2 others I'm going to use. The number 10, Someone. Um, I was really looking through the race from a pedigree standpoint, trying to find, all right, where are the actual turf horses? Because a lot of these horses have only run on the dirt. Obviously, these are young 2 year olds, so don't have necessarily a lot of starts. And the 10 Someone, you got Improbable on the top, and so by Improbable obviously by City Zip, but on the bottom you have a Dynaformer mare, and Dynaformers love to go long on the turf. So definitely has a stamina influence on the bottom there. Improbable, you see the average winning distance of the Improbable sire, Improbable progeny here of 5.2. That's because obviously these 2 year olds are running those 4.5, 5.5 races right now. uh, Improbable is still a new sire. Don't worry about that. So you do have one turf winner and 4 starters here. So you do have the bottom side has been able to produce at least one turf winner, and you see the addition of Irad Ortiz Jr. He basically can have, like, I look at the trainers in this race. I see Linda, Rudy. I could definitely see IRAD picking up any of these mounts, and he ends up on this one. So I think this is probably a bit of a well-meant horse here. So the 10 someone is definitely one I'm going to use. And then for a bit of a long shot pick, I mean, I guess not that big of a long shot, but at 8 to 1, Annie Goodbody. Um, I mean, once again, I'm just looking at pedigree here. I see Warfront on top. Tis now not necessarily as much of a turf influence, but definitely a stamina influence. And we have 2 year olds going a mile and 16th on the turf. I want as much stamina as I possibly can get in the pedigree. So I think Annie Goodbody here definitely fits the bill with the Warfront on top and the Tis now on the bottom. Um, and this is the first starter out of this dam, so there's not really too much to go off of on the dam side. But you look at the works. The works look good. You see four back a bullet turf work before that July 18th race. And then came back and got two more works on the turf. Looked to be pretty maintenancey type works, and then comes and fires a bullet on the dirt. So that tells me maybe they're going to try and get this horse out of the gate a little bit quicker than last time. Obviously, kind of missed the start last time. Was ninth by 9 lengths by first call and went backwards. So we'll see if second time out we get some improvement here in a small sample size. Patrick Reynolds, 20%, first at a route in 15 starts. That's a positive $1.26 ROI on that move. Kind of like Annie Goodbody here at a little bit of a price at 8 to 1.
So, one of the important things to do with this race is to look at the conditions. This isn't just any 2 year old filly race going a mile and a 16th on the turf. This is for horses that sold or RNA'd for $50,000 or less in their most recent sale. This is what I would argue a restricted 2 year old race, but it will not be labeled as such in the racing form. It'll be your basic maiden 80,000, and you've got to do a little bit more research than I think you should to identify horses that may be dropping in class. You mentioned Annie Goodbody. I specifically looked at that race on July 18th because I think the winner of that race, Abiento, has some talent. That was an unrestricted race. Annie Goodbody probably needed that race, stretches out to 2 turns. I'm using Annie Goodbody as well, especially given that this field seems a bit weaker than the one she ran up against first time out. You mentioned someone, horse number 10 in the program. I hate the post, but I really like the pedigree. Yes, Improbable up at the top is sort of an unknown, but if you dig into the bottom side pedigree, you find a lot of things to like. This is a half sister to a stakes winning marathoner by the name of Calibrate. The Dam, Glamour and Style, is a full to an Australian Group 1 winner, It's Somewhat, and a half to a Grade 3 place turf horse by the name of Friendly Banter. This horse wants to go long. This horse probably wants to go even longer than the mile and a 16th. I see John Kimmel training this horse. He does not have a very big barn, but he's 3 for 9 with a second so far this meet. And Irad Ortiz sees fit to ride for a smaller barn. That's worth noting. I don't know why this horse ran on July 26th, unless John Kimmel decided to give this horse a race before going along on the turf. But I think you can throw that race straight out the window. I think someone is doing what she wants to do, and for that reason, she's my top pick. The third horse I am going to use is the 7 Bossy Dish. This is another one that looks a bit better if you dive into the bottom side of the pedigree. It's all turf. The Dam was a champion 2-year-old filly in her native New Zealand, has thrown a multiple stakes winner by the name of Broken Sword. I'm willing to give this one more chance going to the turf. I know it's been a speed and fade twice going shorter on dirt, but by the same token, I think this is another horse that just doesn't want to run on the dirt. I think they've been waiting to run this horse on the turf. I hope they get to run this horse on the turf. I hope all the turf races are contested as scheduled. If that's the case, I think Bossy Dish is a horse you can't completely ignore. The bomb that I'm going to give you as sort of a C. I did not throw this horse on the overall ticket, but if there are scratches or changes, or if you're a long shot player and you want to get absolutely crazy with the cheese whiz, hi Todd Schrupp, how you doing? Let's take a look at horse number 8, Luck for You. Josh, find me anything at all to recommend in the 3 starts this horse has so far.
Nothing.
Nothing. Absolutely stone cold nothing. They were all dirt sprints, though, and first time out, they tried to run this horse on the turf. Race got moved off the turf onto the main track. That was for another trainer. After that race, she was moved to the barn of Eduardo Jones. I'm trying to find a very diplomatic way to say this. The way I settled on is low percentage trainer. Josh, as of this recording, Eduardo Jones is 1 for 84 on the 2024 campaign. Now, Luck for You does not go to a super high percentage barn. In fact, Jesus Romero is just 1 for 23 overall in 2024. But I see that pedigree by looking at Lucky out of a Scat Daddy mare. Stranger things have happened than a horse with that pedigree waking up on the turf for a new barn at a big price. If there are scratches elsewhere in the sequence, I will have this one on a few tickets. I don't think Luck for You is horribly meant. There's every chance this one needs the maiden claimers or needs to start going over fences or something. But at this price with that pedigree, going away from a 1% barn, I'm just saying I've seen weirder shit happen.
Anything else on this race?
I mean, I think we've basically covered a lot of this field. You mentioned Miss California. I saw More Than Ready as well. Julian has not had a great meet. That makes me nervous.
All right, let's move on to race 7 here. We're going a mile and an eighth on the main track. It's an optional claimer here. There are lots of conditions. You've obviously paid closer attention to conditions than I have. Yeah, we have a field of 7 here, and headlined by headline numbers, the 7. Clearvich Stables owned, Chad Brown trained, Flavian Pratt gets the nod here for the I mean, the real strong connections. And, last time out, won in a bit of a laugher, won by 11 lengths here. And, I mean, basically never looked a loser, was sixth at the start of that race and at first call, and then just kind of made a bit of a middle move at second call and was just gone. So very impressive looking maiden. Andrew, how did you see this race?
7. That's it. If headline numbers runs back to that last race, I think everybody else in this field is running for second. If headline numbers steps forward at all whatsoever, this is going to sound incredibly bizarre, but if that happens, 8-5 is an overlay. Headline numbers, I thought, was extremely impressive in the debut win going a mile at Aqueduct on the 4th of July. Won by 11 lengths, could not have won any easier. Yes, goes 2 turns for the first time, but I see Gunrunner on the top and I see Curlin on the bottom. This horse is bred to go 9 turns, not just 2 turns. I see the rest of this field and I see a bunch of horses that like to run second and third. I don't see a lot of horses that like to win. Even if headline numbers regresses a little bit off of that performance, I still think she's a very likely winner. And in a sequence where I had to go fairly deep elsewhere, needed a single, why not single this horse? It just seems overwhelmingly the most logical horse in this field.
Yeah, I don't really have anything super negative to say about that last effort. I don't really have anything negative to say about your take. But I hate money. So I see a 8-5 uh 8-5 horse here in the sequence where maybe on some of the other races I kind of landed on some shorter prices. I'm trying to find one place where I'm going to zag, and I feel like headline numbers in the sequence is going to be the most singled horse. So I'm going to play against here. And the only way I could see headline numbers maybe even remotely losing this race is if somebody gets out on the front end and just doesn't get caught, um, just gets carried by the track, for lack of a better term. And I got two horses in here who are probably going to vie for the lead. Um, I think the more likely winner and my top pick in this race is the three Fade to Gray. I'm going back to our good friend Matthew DeSantis, who mentioned Johnny V. He gets aboard a speed horse and people just seem to move out of the way for him. So Johnny V riding here for Todd Pletcher. They've had a great meet. The last 60 days, hitting at 33%. And is does have another speed horse drawn inside, in the one camera, who is the other horse I'm using in this spot. But I don't know, that last race here at Saratoga, going slightly longer, looked pretty good. Going 48 and 1 and 1 12 and 1. So and basically just never looked a loser. Just kind of kept on and won. Horse has been working pretty well here, continuing. And I mean, everything you look at Todd, and I mean, he's hitting at 20% to start the meet. Um, Obviously, maiden winners last time, in route race, everything is plus here for him, trainer wise. And at least on Brisnet liked that last race, just as much as the other maiden breaker for the seven headline numbers, if not liked it a little bit more. So I haven't looked at other figures yet. Maybe DRF and time form are wildly different, but I think the three being forwardly placed and having that nice last race, maybe we see another step forward there for Fade to Gray. So I have him as my lone A. And then my lone B is the one camera, who's a horse that has got a couple more starts, I think, than anyone else in this race. Has run both on the dirt and the turf. Broke its maiden going the 1 turn mile at Aqueduct, with Kendrick aboard in wire to wire fashion. Albeit a bit of a slow race. So take that, for what you will. And this horse hasn't really taken that step forward yet, but it's just another one. He's going to be inside drawn speed. And you see Frankie Dettori stays on. Frankie's ridden her aggressively both times on the turf. I mean, I guess there's some turf pedigree here, but I think that this horse is definitely bred more for the dirt. So I like the move back to dirt here. But yeah, I'm going to take the two Pletcher horses in the one camera and the three Fade to Gray.
So I don't hate camera underneath. I think the last race is a throwout, especially given how classy that race turned out. Proctor Street was the winner of that race. That day's runner-up came right back to win a grade 3 over the weekend. That day's third place finisher came right back to win as well. Got no problem drawing a line through that race. The race 2 back ran second behind Buttercream Babe, who ran fairly well against the boys in the Hall of Fame. Camera's got some talent. Fade to Gray, though, I am absolutely fading. I thought she had a candy-ass trip. Copyright Caleb, all rights reserved. Last time out, getting loose on the lead against a 3-horse group of opponents. That's a big negative for me in here. And also, for as easy a trip as she had, they walked home in that particular race. They went the mile in 137 and 4. They finished the mile in an eighth in 151 and 2. That last furlong was 13-3. That's not overly fast. She's going to need to get significantly faster in order to beat the horse that I'm singling, that a lot of others are singling. I don't hate your theory and logic about finding a spot to zag, but I found a spot to zag in the race after this, and I can't get too cute in here. Headline numbers is my best bet of the day. If that one doesn't win, I lose. I imagine lots of other people lose as well.
All right, let's move on to race 8 here. We're on 6 furlongs on the main track. And Andrew, I'm also against the 8-5 favorite Gulfport
Hey,
in
look at
this
us.
race.
Look at us.
Yeah. I have a hard time time trusting this horse. I thought that this was a very, very talented 2-year-old, and came back for his first start as a 3-year-old, and something obviously went wrong there, and ended up taking over a year off to come back in an optional claimer, which he did win. And it was interesting race because he wasn't bet in that race. He went off at 4.5 to 1 ish at Churchill Downs. Um, so you would think people would see that back class there, and maybe be a little bit more interested in the horse, but um, yeah, did win. But I'll tell you, at least on Brisnet, won with the figure slower than he had run as a 2-year-old. And that doesn't necessarily, just strike me as a type of horse I want to take a real short price on. Even if he does improve off that last effort, I definitely think that there are other horses in here that have run just as good, if not better, more recently. My top pick is going to be the one Disco Ball, obviously part of an entry. And the reason that I mention this is because if for some reason the one Disco Ball scratches and the other half of the entry is the one that runs, or if some funny business like that happens, um, the one is really the part of the entry that I want. So if I see for some reason Disco Ball scratch, I'm playing this race a little bit differently. But yeah, Disco Ball is coming off 2 wins at Delaware Park, one on a fast main track, one on a sloppy main track. And all he's done is won by 4 3/4 lengths and 9 1/4 lengths. Has just looked very, very impressive in those 2 wins. Shipping up here, Ramon Vasquez gets aboard, and Ramon knows what to do. He's going to get this horse out early, and if you're an optics believer, this is a humongous Q1 square. I wish I had an optics alert built in. I'm gonna have to get one, but this is the optics horse, so I'm all over this one Disco Ball as a lone A. I do think that there's another horse in here that's got a bit of a shot in the 5, Kavad. Um, Joe Sharp trained, first time claiming this horse off of Mike Maker. And, all he did last time is run a real nice figure and won by a open length going 7 furlongs at Churchill Downs. So stepping up in class here a little bit, but this horse has run at similar levels at other tracks and has run very well. You go 5 back and you see that 100 Briz figure going 6 furlongs at Fairgrounds and in an optional claimer 80,000. You see a couple listed stakes races in there where horse was competitive, kind of fit, but necessarily didn't win. And heck, you even see a race in the Woodford. So Chris Hartman thought a lot about this horse, and then switched over to Mike Maker's barn and got claimed last time out. Joe Sharp very good first off the claim. You see Dylan Davis get aboard, and Dylan is obviously riding absolutely lights out. Might be riding better than anybody else in the colony currently. And this is a horse that has very tactical speed, right? Likes to be forwardly placed. And I think that's where you want to be going 6 furlongs. If the one doesn't go wire to wire, I think it's going to be the 5 kind of sitting up there in that 3rd or 4th position with that tracking trip, and kind of getting first run on the one. So I'm just 1 and 5 here, Andrew. Where did you land?
So we actually see this race in an odd way, very similarly and very differently at the same time. My top pick is also the entry, but you preferred Disco Ball. I preferred Durante, who comes in after a race off a little bit of a layoff down at Laurel. Got a very strange trip that particular day. I'm not 100% sure what happened there. That horse was not supposed to be in the position he was in that particular afternoon. I think with a better trip, he is one of the horses to beat in here. You talked about back class. This is a horse that back in 2013 got very, very good. Won the grade 3 Bold Ruler downstate, came back, ran a very good second in the fall high weight handicap behind Bold Journey. ran in the Gravesend. They shipped to Oaklawn, went a mile. That didn't go particularly well. Even 2 starts back, he was a not terrible fifth in the Grade 3 Run Happy downstate. This is a horse that has much, much, much more talent than what he showed last time out. I am expecting a significantly improved performance. I'm using Kavad as well. The other horse I'm going to use, though, and one you didn't mention, is number 4, Little Vic. Little Vic is another one that, if he channels his best race, has a very, very big shot. If you look back in the 2023 campaign, they thought enough of this horse to run him in not 1 but 2 Grade 1 races against the likes of Elite Power and Gunite. There are no Elite Powers or Gunites in this particular field. Last time out, another that got a very strange trip at Laurel in the Francis Dash. I don't know what it is down at Laurel. Maybe people are resting on their laurels. Waka, waka, waka. But I think this one is sitting on a significantly improved effort in the first start beneath the Rod Ortiz. Before we go much further, we should probably take a look at Gulfport at least. Josh, I'm going to put you to work here. I'm going to have you use that red pen. I want you to cross out the 3 races at Churchill Downs. For those of you that are watching this on YouTube, you are seeing the magical red pen at work. Okay. For those of you that are not watching on YouTube, and by the way, if you are watching on YouTube, go on down below, hit that like button, hit that subscribe button, really helps us out. Josh, you've crossed out the 3 races at Churchill Downs. What do you see?
I see a second, a third, and a fifth.
Yep. You've also crossed out the 3 races where he's been ridden by Brian Hernandez Jr. Who's riding him here?
Tyler Gaffleone.
Nothing against Tyler. Tyler's a very good rider. He rides for Steve Asmussen a bit. Fine. Wonderful. You're asking me to take a short price on a horse that's never won outside of Kentucky with his non-preferred rider aboard. Now, he does have the Steve Asmussen work pattern I like to see, which is a big work, 2 works back, and then a maintenance move. I like seeing that. If Gulfport drifts up to, say, 7-2 or so, I think that's a fair price. But he's going to get hammered at the windows. He's 8-5 on the morning line. I think he's going to go off about that price. And at that price, Josh, I can't play him.
Yeah, like I said, Gulfport absolutely can win. He's got races that absolutely fit here. They're all at Churchill Downs. And not to say, I mean, I'm using Kavad, who's or not Kavad, the one who's run well at Churchill Downs as well. So if we want to talk about, or no, it was Kavad. Sorry.
Yeah, it was Kavad.
It was Kavad. Yeah. But anyways, not to say that hey, we throw out all the Churchill Downs figs, but Kavad's traveled to a couple different tracks, and I feel like he's backed up those Churchill Down efforts. Where you look at a horse like the 3 Gulfport, and he absolutely looks like a horse for course type at Churchill Downs, and there's a lot of horses that, hey, they just love that Churchill dirt. It's a fast track, and it's just a different track than Saratoga. So yeah, I can't take a short price on this horse. I think it's another spot that I'm going to try and zag away from the favorite. And yeah, I'm going to try and do it with only using 2 horses.
If you're alive after this race, Josh, you're going to be alive for a nice chunk of change.
All right, let's move on to race 9, the penultimate leg of the Pick 5. Shout out to Ed DeRosa. And we have the 1.16 inner turf optional claimer here. And I think this was a race where, I'd probably be hitting buttons on myself, such as defensive B and other stuff here. Your morning line favorite is the 4 overreacting at 5-2. Maggie T is also 5-2, but she's I believe an MTO in this race, as is the 11, the Shoe Lady. So if you're looking at your PPs and you see these other short prices, those are just MTOs here. But of the horses that are drawn in, you have overreacting. You have Can't Fool Me at 7-2. The 10, I'm Just Kidding at 4-1. Nine, and then I think you start to get 5-1 on Solib, 6-1 on Spooky Lady, and then you start getting into the double digits territory there. But I was three deep here. I did use the four overreacting, or overacting, excuse me. I did use, and I'm going to use as an A, but I have it as a B on the paper as a point of principle, in that I believe the five Spooky Lady is my top pick in this race. Why? Well, Andrew, I see, and I'm trying to draw, but you had me crossing stuff out earlier, so now my pen is all messed up. I see an E, I see an 8, I see the three cherries here. I see Luis Saez get aboard, and Luis Saez had a pretty miserable start to the meet, and I feel like he's starting to kind of wake up a little bit. And if there's one place that I want Luis Saez, I want Luis Saez on the front in a turf route. And I think you're going to get it here with Spooky Lady. Now, obviously, last time out, got the lead and, got caught and then some, losing by, six, or finishing six by 5 lengths there, so weakened a little bit. But it does have a couple of races further back at Aqueduct where did kind of hold on there. So I don't know if I mean the pace wasn't really all that fast. They went 25 and one, and then they kind of sped up in that second quarter. But I don't know. I'm looking at this race, and I mean maybe the two Sweetest Princess is going to show some speed. But outside of that, I don't see very much speed in this race. Solib has shown some sprinter speed, so maybe that's where the rest of the speed comes. But I think if for some reason Luis can get this horse out and go, instead of going 25 and 49 like last time, maybe go 25 and 50 like the race two back. I know he finished third, but he finished third by 3/4 of a length, and was the favorite in that race. So. I could definitely see if we get a Naira special here, maybe there's a chance for Spooky Lady. And also, one thing to note is that last race was on the outer turf, and the inner turf tends to be a little bit more speed favoring. So, a couple of things changing here. Maybe we different configuration, same distance. Maybe we get a little different story here. And maybe I'm making too many excuses for an E8, but I see three cherries. I need to bet it. Obviously, the four overacting makes a ton of sense here, but it's a little interesting because you look at the races and speed figure wise, they kind of fit, or they fit, but I look at this horse and it's got two wins, and just I don't know if this horse is camera shy, just doesn't like, I don't know. The horse is got two wins in six starts, and seems to kind of regress after that win a little bit here. So I don't really know what's going on with this horse. Obviously, the off the turf race, nothing you can do there here at Saratoga. But that race, that last race, was coming from off the pace where it seems to be where horses kind of wanted to come from to start the meet at Saratoga, and just wasn't really able to close. But the interesting thing I see is I no longer see Manny Franco aboard, and I see Flavian Pratt aboard now. So, I've had my opinions on Manny Franco, but I see Flavian Pratt getting aboard, and I think all systems go. So, I had a hard time, leaving this horse off my ticket. This horse will also be an A. And then lastly, I'm using the 8 Snowy Evening here for Johnny Velasquez and David Donk. It's not Sunday, which is when you bet David Donk, right? You always bet Donk on a Sunday. But, this horse has shown some tactical speed. It is going to be forwardly placed, and I just do think that if the sprinter and my top choice kind of get into a ding dong battle on the front end, I think that sets up very well for Snowy Evening, who I don't think is going to be in the lead, but I do think is going to be maybe third or fourth by a couple of lengths, and maybe just has a chance to get first run here. Johnny V is very good at one thing, and that's working out trips. Right, keeps horses out of trouble, and if he thinks that this horse needs to make one run and kind of close in, like this horse did last year at Saratoga, where he came up just short, going second by a head, I think that maybe he can work out a similar trip here, and maybe just be tactical and kind of close in and make that one run. So a bit of a price there at 10-1 is going to be my lone B, but I'm 4, 5, and 8. Where did you land, Andrew?
So I would like Spooky Lady a lot more at a mile than a mile and a 16th because, yes, she's going to have a pace advantage in here, I think. I don't necessarily think she's going to be alone on the front end. I do think she's going to be the one to catch. I think there are serious distance limitations with this horse. This is a runner that, to me, more so fits the configuration at Belmont, going a mile there, that one turn mile there, rather than the two turns at Saratoga. Some horses are just better going one turn. If this was a one turn race, I would like Spooky Lady much, much more. I'm going to be using the top two betting choices, I think, plus a bomb. You mentioned overacting. I picked that one second. Manny Franco is not on this horse. There's a reason for that. That was a very strange trip last time out in the common race that a lot of horses in here exit. And I watched that race pretty closely, not just because there were a bunch of horses from that race running back in here, but also because that day's winner Spinning Colors is a very nice mare. She's had her issues. She's been off the bench a couple of times, but when she's right, she's very good. Overacting, I think, has a lot of potential to improve with the switch to Flavian Pratt. No disrespect intended to Manny Franco, but there's a reason he's not riding this horse anymore. My top selection, though, yes, Josh.
There was disrespect intended for me, just in case anyone
Okay.
was unaware.
Well,
Continue.
just in case anybody out there had any doubt as to who the nicer one was.
I'm just kidding. I'm
No,
just
you're
kidding.
not,
Being a
Josh.
jockey is very, very hard. I keep all my complaints to private chats. I do not publicly bash jockeys too much.
There we go. All right. Well, moving on, my top selection is actually number 3, Can't Fool Me, who ran second in that race, beat a lot of these horses, and based if we solely on ability, I think deserves to be favored. Doesn't necessarily come from a powerhouse barn, although Horacio De Paz has had a pretty solid meet. This is a horse that has run 3 very solid races since coming off the bench, was second 3 back at Aqueduct, won at Aqueduct in a race that didn't have a lot of pace in front of her, and then rallied from 9th of 10 to be second last time out in a race that, as Josh mentioned, started with a 25-1 opening quarter. You had to think the connections were a little bit nervous after that start, but this one managed to salvage second, keep the conditions, and has been running pretty darn well. This is a horse that last year at Saratoga beat Starter Allowance Company, Open Starter Allowance Company, I should say. And I think Can't Fool Me is a consistent mare doing what she wants to do. She'll be the one they have to hold off late. That's my top pick. The long shot that I'm going to throw in is horse number 1, Burnt Again, who also came out of that race, but that was this horse's first race since January. There was a very long layoff that needed to be contended with, and she ran like a horse that needed a race. She had a pretty good trip and had every chance to kick on, but she needed a race, so the kick on part didn't exactly pan out. Luis Saez does hop off, but if you toss the last race, end the race right before the layoff, where it's pretty clear something went wrong because we didn't see her again for 6+ months, you're left with a horse that ran several very nice turf races last year, was second in a couple of stakes races at Saratoga, going 2 turns on the turf. Her best race puts her right there. I see 15-1, and Josh, that hits me as way too big a price on a horse that on her best day, I think can win.
I'm not one to talk anyone off a 15-1 horse. So, I will say, from what I've seen, obviously speed hasn't been as good as it normally gets at Saratoga. We've also had a really weird, and I'm talking specifically of the turf, but we've also had a really weird turf meet, like we've talked about, right? The weather stuff coming off a ton, on, it's on all of a sudden, it's on in the morning, off in the evening. Like it's been kind of weird. So obviously things can change, but it does seem like you want to be closing, even in turf sprints. You've wanted to be closing. So we have seen a couple wired. I wish I had Matthew DeSantis stats. I'm sure he has something cooked up, and
Matthew
maybe.
DeSantis is too busy jinxing the weather for the rest of the week.
Oh,
We're
we are.
we're apparently feuding now in the Albany area media, which I find wildly amusing. And I am thinking of ways in which I can make cameos on some of his videos in the later
Yeah.
stage.
So what was up with that? What happened?
So, as far as I'm aware, we both do spots on the Albany area Fox Sports affiliate. Shout out to Levac and Gaz. Love those guys. They do the afternoon drive show. They do a really nice job. I'm on Thursdays. I guess he's on Fridays. And I brought up last Thursday the same thing we talked about in this show, which is that Matthew DeSantis tempted the wrath of the whatever from high atop the thing when he put out the advanced forecast that showed nothing but beautiful days at Saratoga. And then what happened? Saratoga monsoons hit Saratoga. And I didn't listen to the segment quite yet, but I believe I was referred to as an 80-year-old ninny that worries about rain showers. I don't worry about rain showers, Josh. I worry about tempting the wrath of the whatever from high atop the thing. There's just certain things you don't do at Saratoga. You don't tempt the weather gods. I mean, there was a certain Naira TV personality that learned that last year when we were all up there for 4-Star Dave weekend. He tweets, "Oh, the weather's absolutely gorgeous," to the chagrin of people on Twitter. And then it poured for 15 minutes. I remember the two of us, Mark, Caleb, and our friend Andrew Road Warrior, huddled under a canopy in the backyard for 15 minutes. You just don't do that, people. Love you, Matt. Love you very much, but there will be retribution.
Race 10, the closing leg.
Let's get back on topic.
This was probably the hardest race.
It's not easy.
Handicap. I went very wide. I went 5 wide in this spot. And honestly, Andrew, I went 5 wide and I still don't feel great about it. So I'm interested to hear where you landed.
I went 4 deep. So I didn't exactly have a super strong opinion. What I will say is my 2 A's are both relative prices on the morning line. My top selection is horse number 2, Precisely. I usually don't love horses coming in off of ridiculously long layoffs like Precisely is. She debuted last June down at Belmont, was 3rd that day, and I was not impressed with her. I remember watching this race as it happened. I thought she led through some pretty soft fractions, had a perfect trip, wound up finishing 3rd. But as it turned out, that race had some talent. The winner, Amidst Waves, stakes caliber horse. The runner-up, Kodiak Wintergreen, came right back to win it next asking. So it's not like this one was running against tomato cans. Hasn't been seen since, but I see some very, very fast works over the Oklahoma turf course, a surface where if you see a horse go 4 furlongs in faster than 50 seconds when the dogs are up, they're moving pretty good. I see 48-3. I see 47-4. I see 47-3. And I see Frankie Dettori riding for Wesley Ward. I think there's a lot to like here, Josh. And for that reason, Precisely is my top pick. There's a very intriguing first-time starter that draws the rail in here, though. And that's number 1, Unhidden Gem. Unhidden Gem sold for about $300,000 at the Tattersall sale back in 2022. That sale has some of the best turf pedigrees in the world. If you want a turf horse, you go overseas to the Tattersall sale and you try to find a bargain. Unhidden Gem is by No Nay Never, who was a very precocious horse. The stallion commercial goes 3 starts, 3 countries, 3 wins. He saw most of the world, and when he was good, he was very good. The Dam is a horse named Gems. The pedigree is all English turf horses. This filly, though, is a full to a Group 2 winner by the name of Mystery Power and a half to a Group 3 placed runner. The Dam is a half to a stakes winner. The 3rd Dam through a Group 1 winner. This is a very classy pedigree. I see that Al Stoll is 4 for 8 with a 2nd at Saratoga this meet. And I see that this horse has been working very well. Alstall doesn't usually ask a whole heck of a lot from his horses that haven't debuted yet. His first time starter success rate is just 9%. But I see this horse with a world class turf pedigree show up in here with really strong workouts. And I think there's a chance this one's pretty well met. So I have to use Unhidden Gem as well. The two Bs are the two horses that are going to take some money. Number 3, are we calling it Arisu, Arisau? Let's just call it the 3 horse and be done with it. Came off a very long layoff last time out, led in the stretch, was a close up third that day. Any sort of improvement in this horse is right there. Number 6, La Salvadorena, cuts back after a couple of starts going 2 turns. The best race this horse ever ran, though, was the debut, going 5.5 furlongs at Keeneland. Had a horrible start, rallied to finish second. Maybe this horse is just a sprinter. 2 A's and 2 B's for me. 2 and 1 are the A's. The 3 and the 6 are the B's. Using all of them to close out my ticket. I need to give you a segue into one of your A horses, though, and that's the 7 Shoplifting. Boy, did I need Shoplifting in her debut when she did all of the dirty work, was a single for me absolutely everywhere, led for 5.999996 furlongs, and got nailed right on the wire by a little filly named Just FYI who went on to win the Breeders' Cup. The weird things that we remember coming out of that race, I thought Shoplifting was a very serious racehorse. To me, she just hasn't progressed and kicked on. I'm interested to hear why you like her.
Yeah, this horse is pretty funny, right? You look
not
at
to
these
me.
races.
Not to me. It's not funny.
Well, right. Finished second to Just FYI by a head. Finishes third to another horse that people might know in Leslie's Rose. The 2 starts after that. Has a stakes race in the middle of those, going 6 furlongs on the turf, and finishes 4th, where she was the favorite at a little under 3-1 there. Comes back in another maiden, and I see that it was a maiden that was supposed to be on the turf and got washed off, and was once again really, really short, and just ended up coming up a little bit short here. And I see 5-1, and I think that this is a horse that has some tactical speed, and I think that when I kind of looked at the optics plot, if I can pull it up real quick, and here, and we will go to the last race. When I'm looking at this optics plot here, and my eyes immediately looking at this look at the 3 big squares, right? You see the 7, you see the 3, you see the 6. Now, what's interesting about optics is obviously it's comparing these horses to the other horses in this race, right? So you might look right at some of the running lines and be like, hey, like that doesn't make sense with the plot. Well, it's taking pace figures and stuff and kind of comparing it. And believe it or not, Shoplifting actually fits against a lot of these horses pretty damn well. It looks like a horse that's going to get first run, be the kind of the first run closer on horses like the 2 and the 5, who are going to be your likely leaders there. I do think the 3 and the 6 probably stand to be the better, slightly better shots. But I thought the 7 Shoplifting was at least interesting enough to include at 7-1, or at 5-1. When you look at the optics plot, you notice over here on the right under plot, it's got an above plus grade. So optics really thinks that where this horse sits on the plot is really good. Now, caveat to that, we do have 3 horses that are not on the plot. So you do have to take it with a little bit of a grain of salt, right? Because you don't know. I mean, for all we know, the 1, 9, and 10 could decide, hey, we're going to go 20 and 4 to the first quarter, and that just blows up the entire plot, right? We don't have any data on them. So, you got to take it with a little bit of a grain of salt. But I thought, at least compared to the other horses that have runs, the 7 on optics fits in here, and they like the class on the horse, class rating. They like the Brisnet speed figures for that horse, and the horse plots out really really well against the other horses that have run. So I thought the 7 shoplifting was worth an include in here. Obviously, we're looking at a horse that has 5 starts and hasn't won yet. Um, for a big trainer, or well, not that Linda Rice isn't a big trainer, but Linda's only had this horse for 2 starts, so maybe we'll give her a little bit of a break on that. If this was a Chad Brown horse, I'd want absolutely nothing to do with it. This is a Todd Pletcher horse, I'd want nothing to do with it. I'll give a little bit of leeway to Linda here on this one, but I at least thought shoplifting was in here with a shot. I have her written down as an A here, but honestly, I'm probably going to be using all these horses pretty evenly. The 6 is probably my top pick here. Love the cutback on this horse. I agree with you. That 5.5 furlong race at Keeneland, probably the best race anybody in the field has run. Like I said, Dylan Davis has just been riding lights out. Horse is cutting back. I think that's going to be an improvement for this horse. The 2 horse, I absolutely love as well, precisely. And there's one thing that Wesley Ward is very good at. Well, there's a couple things: turf sprinting and getting horses that have been laid up for an entire year to just fire fresh. Why am I blanking? He had the awesome grade 1 stakes horse that literally ran like once a year and just kept on winning these real big name turf stakes
So
races.
you could be referring to Golden Pal, who didn't run much. You could be referring to Bound for Nowhere,
Bound
who
for Nowhere is who I was thinking
yeah,
of. Yeah.
Bound for Nowhere ran forever and only had about. I need to look this up, but he did not have many overall starts. When he ran, though, he made it count.
Yep. So I'm not worried about the long layoff here. My eyes, same as you, they went to those turf works, and I saw sub 48 on 2 of those works, and I'm like this horse is just training lights out.
Mhm.
The 3 Aerosol, I think you already talked about. Um, yeah, I went back and I watched that last race, and when it comes to these turf sprint races, it doesn't take much to lose a length and 3/4. And if you watch that race, this horse breaks straight out. I believe was in the 4 post and breaks straight out into the 5 horse, who then collides with the 6 horse and just causes an absolute the 6 horse is basically wiped out of that race. But you know, probably lost at least a half length, if not more, from that start alone. So wasn't the biggest of trouble, but I think was maybe enough. It's noted in the notes. I went back and I watched it, and it looked to be pretty bad and significant. So I used the 3 aerosol here. I think has definitely got a shot. So I have the 2, I have the 3, the 6, the 7, and then the 1 horse I am using that doesn't have a start is this 9 horse. We're gonna go with Sane.
Yep, that's right. It's the river in Paris that is contaminated.
Oh, great.
Yeah, that's a
Um,
good moment, isn't it?
but yeah, I'm gonna go with Sane here. And I look back at um, the pedigree on this horse. City of Light off to an okayish start with some of these turf starters. I see 10% first time with turf, 12% overall. I see Indian Charlie on the bottom, who's similar stats, 10% first time, 13% overall. So there is some turf pedigree there. And but I see that this dam has already put out a stakes winning horse. Has got a turf winner. And I kind of look at the bottom side on the rest of this field, and this looks to kind of be the best bottom side on any of the horses here. So I love to see that this horse has got a couple of starts or workouts on the turf track. It's got some pretty big works going back to Belmont in July, and then it has since come over here and has worked on that the turf track. So I don't know. I thought of the first time starters, the 9 would be probably where I would kind of take a shot. Like I said, Luis Saez seems to be kind of waking up this meet. See him getting aboard for Todd Pletcher. Once again, Todd Pletcher's not necessarily known for getting first timers on the turf to win. I think he's 9% when he debuts on the turf. But I thought there was a bit to like in the pedigree here. And so I'll take a shot with a B here on sign.
I would love that horse if this was a mile and a 16th. You mentioned the bottom side pedigree. It's very good, but it is very distance heavy. If you go back to the third dam, that's a mare named Flute. Flute was a serious racehorse going 2 turns. She's the dam of a horse named Falimbi, who won a couple of graded stakes races and was placed in a grade 1. This is a horse that, to me, wants way more ground than the 5.5 furlongs she gets. Before you X out of this race, though, what the hell do we do with Biles, horse number 10 in the program? This is a horse that sold for $500,000 at Tattersall's, so she knocked somebody's socks off at that sale. I wouldn't be shocked if she ran off the screen, but I see Rick Dutrow with a first-time starter. That's not necessarily his game. I see very little data on the bottom side of the pedigree on Pedigree Query. If you look, you can go back several generations, and you don't see many horses from the dam, the second dam, or the third dam. Part of me thinks this horse needs a race. I'm certainly not crazy about the post, but doesn't this seem like the once every couple of years Dutch Row freak show that winds up booming everybody?
What's funny is I think the same thing you kind of said about the 9, I would kind of maybe argue for the 10. I think this is a two-turn horse.
I
Um,
hope it's a 2 turn horse because I'm not using it in this spot. But I was there the day Rick Duttrow's best horse snuck up on everybody, broke the maiden when trained by somebody else going on the turf at Saratoga. I'm referring to Big Brown, the horse that saved horse racing by winning the Kentucky Derby. Because, Josh, if Big Brown doesn't win the Kentucky Derby, Eight Bells does. Think
Woof.
about that.
Yeah, and unfortunately, that's probably my earliest Derby memory watching that one
Yeah,
live.
it was
Um,
not good, but yeah, it's one of those things where I figured we at least had to throw a mention because first of all, if you're going to name a horse after Simone Biles, probably the best gymnast in the history of organized gymnastics, she can't suck. She has
mhm.
to be a runner, right? But I'm looking at this and I'm going, there are some indications that say this horse is a freak. The workouts, with the exception of the 1-2 back, don't knock my socks off. There's not a lot in the pedigree, but something had to be there at the Tattersall sale a couple of years ago. I'm very conflicted.
Yeah, why don't before we look at the Travers quickly, why don't we kind of talk about our tickets here real quick?
Sure.
Andrew, I got your ticket here up on the screen. Talk to me.
Sure. So this is a $54 ticket. Again, it's a little bit beyond the budget I usually like giving out. I try giving out tickets that are in the $40, $45 range at the most. If $54 is a little bit too rich for your blood, you can play my late pick 4 ticket. It'll cost you 18 bucks. It starts in race number 7. If you're playing the pick 5 though, it's a $54 ticket, 2 7 10 with 7, my best bet of the sequence, with 1 4 5 trying to beat the chalk, with 1 3 4, with 1 2 3 6. Again, that's a $54 play. We're leaning on one favorite. We're trying to beat the other favorite. And if we can get a price or two home around that, this could potentially pay a little bit.
Andrew, I ended up with a thick boy. I got a $90 ticket here, and now mind you, I have A's and B's in here. So
Yeah.
if you want to play the way I generally play tickets is I play a ticket with all my A's, and then I play this ticket as kind of a layer on top of it. So I'm basically playing my A's for twice of what I'm playing my B's. But If you're someone who prescribes to the ABC method of playing multiple tickets, only having two Bs and that kind of stuff, I'm sure you probably get this down to probably somewhere between 40 and $50 if you want to play it that way. If you follow my A's and B's, so there are ways if you're trying to keep it on a budget. Also, same thing, similar to you. If you play the late pick four, you're looking at $30. And what's nice is if you do play the late pick four, you are still playing against two of the big favorites that are in the sequence. So it's not like you're playing a $30 pick four and I'm keying a bunch of chalk here. You're playing the late pick four and you're going against two 8 to 5 favorites in the first two legs. So a couple different ways you can go through with the sequence. But I am 2-5-10 with 1-3 with 1-5 with 4-5-8 with 2-3-6-7-9. That's a $90 ticket, for the pick five. But like I said, there's a couple different ways you can go with it. And then Andrew, our consensus ticket once again, we X'd in the second leg. But for the people, I did put up a ticket, 210 with 137. So that's using our three horses in that second leg, with 1-5, singling the four in that fourth leg with 2-3-6. If my math is correct, Andrew, it's an $18 ticket.
Your math is exactly right. And honestly, that's got a shot. I mean, it goes a little bit more narrow in the bookend races than I would like, but we had a pretty similar philosophy on some of these races, especially the third leg where we're both against the horse that's going to take a fair amount of money. So I'm not surprised you were able to cobble something together that isn't totally without a prayer.
All right. Speaking about without a prayer, let's move on to the Travers. You got beef with Mr. Matthew DeSantis on on traditional radio. He mentioned that I called Torpedo Anna a bit of a takeout reducer in one of his videos, and he's absolutely right. I am not a fan of Torpedo Anna in this race. Andrew, are you?
If Torpedo Anna wins, it is fantastic for racing. I will say that right now. You have a built-in storyline of a filly beating the boys in the Midsummer Derby. She's probably already clinched champion 3-year-old filly honors. If she beats the boys in the Travers, you can make a case that she's the leader for Horse of the Year. Having said that, I can play her at 9-2, 5-1. She's going to be nowhere near that price. And with that in mind, I can't play her. There's a lot of speed signed on in the Travers. You've got Torpedo Anna, obviously. You've got Dornoch, who comes in off of a win in the Belmont and a win in the Haskell. And in both of those races, he looked beat in mid-stretch. He somehow finds ways to win those races. He has shown a lot of grit. And in a race with a lot of early speed, I want a front runner that has shown some fight. Horse number 8, meanwhile, is Fierceness, a horse I have a lot of history with, some good, some bad. Jim Dandy, good. Florida Derby, really good. Kentucky Derby, not so much. Fierceness, it was said by many, won the post position draw. I don't think it matters because Fierceness is going to get a very similar trip to what he sat in the Kentucky Derby. And if he couldn't get the 1.25 mile distance that day, when John Velasquez seemed very confident at the half-mile pole, I've rewatched this about 100 times because I can't believe what I saw. He is very good at gauging the horse he has, right? Half-mile pole, he does the look back. And when he did the look back, I was at the OTB at the Alameda County Fairgrounds near the Pleasanton Racetrack, and I went, this is over, lights out, Fierceness from here to your house. He pumps on Fierceness once, and there's nothing. Still not quite sure what happened that day, but I am not sure Fierceness wants to go 1.25 miles. He is going to be chasing or be part of a very, very fast pace. Of the front runners, I prefer Dornick, who is the 5-2 morning line favorite. I think he drifts up just a little bit, not much. I think he's going to be about 7-2. I don't like him at a lot of the prices he's been in a number of his races. I have been very vocal in saying this horse finds ways to beat himself. But Josh, doesn't the Travers set up for Sierra Leone? There's so much pace. He winds up with Flavien Prat again. He's going to be able to run horses down going 1.25 miles that maybe he wasn't able to run down going 1.125 miles. And he's going to be a bettable price. I can't bet him at 5-2 because, again, this is a horse with a history of finding trouble and beating himself. One of the few things I was right about in the Kentucky Derby was that Sierra Leone would find a way to beat himself, and he did. Found a way to beat himself in the Belmont. The Jim Dandy, he didn't have a great trip that particular day. He veered in again. But if you liked him at 4-5 in the Jim Dandy, you're getting a significantly better price in the Travers at a distance that I think he prefers. Value is key here. 7-2 hits me as fair. I think he drifts up because Torpedo Anna takes all the casual money. If he's 5-1, Josh, I've got to play him.
I don't know why, but I have a feeling Sierra Leone's going to be 7-2 or shorter.
See, I don't know about that because if he comes down, who else comes up?
I mean, I just think that none of the long shots take any money. Like, I think that like a horse like the 3 Unmatched Wisdom, I could see the 3, floating up, a couple of points. I could see the 4 floating up a couple of points. The 5 taking is going to be 50-1. Honor Marine, like I could see where it ends up being, the 3, the 3 or 4 players kind of being at 4-1 or under, and everyone else just being 1,000,000-1. But yeah, it'll be interesting. I mean, I have a hard time thinking that the public is going to key in on Dornock, even though the horse has won the last 2. Just because, I mean, the horse won the Belmont and didn't get bet in the Haskell. I I don't know. I have a hard time trying to figure out what the public's going to do. I think, I think I am going to lay a very large, no, well, maybe not very large, but I'm going to lay a pretty big bet on Fierceness to win the Breeders' Cup Classic after this race.
Good race, bad race, good race, bad race.
Absolutely. So I'm going to wait for Fierceness to finish up the track this race, and then I'm going to see where I can find the futures bet for the Travers or for the Breeders' Cup Classic, and I will bet him. I don't like Fierceness in the spot. I of the speed horses, I think I like Dornock the best, but I kind of see this race similar to you. I see Dornock, I see Fierceness. I see Batten Down, who, that Ohio Derby I thought was really good. I liked Batten Down a ton in that Jim Dandy. He just didn't, I don't know, he just didn't get out fast enough, which was kind of surprising to me there a little bit. Unmatched Wisdom, I think, is going to show a bit of pace. And, you know, yeah, I guess if you are going to get a horse or a race that sets up for a closer, this is it. And Sierra Leone should win. But if there's one thing I know about Sierra Leone is Sierra Leone loses races that he should win. So I'm not going to take a short price on Sierra Leone. I am actually going with an outsider in this race. Right now, my top pick is the 4 Corporate Power.
Okay, that's not where I thought you were going when you were setting that up.
Yeah. So, you know, I'm kind of looking back at that last race, the Curlin, and you know, it just seemed like it was a bit of a merry-go-round. They went 48-1 to the half, and I think Corporate Power is going to be one that I think if there is a bit more pace in front, is going to be the one that's going to be most forwardly placed and get first run. So I think that with these other speed horses, I think you see Corporate Power sitting, fifth or sixth, where Sierra Leone's going to be out the back. Which is where he's been. It's fine, right? He's a deep closer. That's what he does. But maybe I'm joining in Chase Sessum's fight against betting closers that are favored. Although Sierra Leone's probably not going to be favored. But I don't know. I just don't see Sierra Leone being a price that is going to get me interested in betting. But I think Corporate Power coming in here with a decent race in the Curlin, I don't think had a shot with the way that pace scenario is. I think there's nothing wrong with being a horse that needs a setup when you get the setup and when you're going to be 15-1. I think Sierra Leone is a very similar horse that needs a setup, is going to get the setup, has already failed to win when getting the setup, and is going to be a much, much shorter price. So I'm going to take the 4 Corporate Power as my top pick. I love to see the way that this horse has been working since that Curlin. It just makes you think that, all right, this is serious business. Suga's serious about this horse. JJ stays aboard here. Love to see that. So I really like Corporate Power here at a bit of a price.
I thought you were going Anna Marie. The way that you set that up, I thought you were going there. And I'm going to tell you something. I will have some tickets with Honor Marie on them just in case the race completely falls apart, because Sierra Leone's trip got all the attention in the Belmont. I don't think that's necessarily correct. Honor Marie once again had an awful trip for the second race in a row. The Kentucky Derby for him was over at the break. In the Belmont, he was closing, not as fast as Sierra Leone was, but reasonably fast. And Sierra Leone came in, started a pinball effect where he lost ground to where he probably wasn't going to improve his placing, but he would have been a lot closer. He would have been fourth beaten 2 or 3 lengths as opposed to beaten 5.5 lengths. He lost a lot of momentum with the way that came down. Tyler Gaffleone sees fit to ride. If you're looking for a deep closer, at least to clunk up into the exotics, I think you can do a lot worse than Honor Marie, with the caveat that this horse has taken my money a couple different times as the buzz horse. But there's a chance, Josh, that Honor Marie is the longest shot on the board. I don't think that's accurate.
Yeah, so my problem with Honor Marie is I see 3 races kind of in a row where kind of making excuses for the horse and kind of squinting like, oh, um, I get it though. Like you're getting your price. This is basically Sierra Leone at a much, much longer price.
Yeah.
So I could see it. I mean, I was very excited for this horse going into the Kentucky Derby.
Yeah. A
And
lot of people were.
I'll tell you what, Andrew. You want to know what makes me like really upset is I keep
What's
on looking at this damn Kentucky Derby, seeing the 3 horses that finished first, second, and third, seeing that I had all of them in my pick 5, and seeing that I absolutely won 0 money on this race, on that race.
Yeah, that's not fun. That's no bueno. Yeah, it's one of those instances where you see certain races like that and you have a visceral reaction because you remember the beat that happened. I mean, for me, it was the horse in the 10th race on Thursday, the horse that you liked quite a bit, that I really liked in her debut, that got beat ahead. In fact, in the form, I wrote in very, very small print the word disgusting underneath that race. As horse players, we remember that shit, man.
That's funny. All right, Andrew. Well, where can people catch you this week?
Sure, andrewchampagne.com for all of my Saratoga stuff. You can check me on winnersandwhiners.com for a lot of the day job stuff. And a quick fun thing, I'm going to be doing some more YouTube stuff for them going forward, going into NFL season. There's going to be a lot more to come on that. But bless their hearts, these people like me and they want to see more of me. And who am I to say no to that kind of request? So looking forward to that. Lots going on over there. Personally, as mentioned, traveling east on Sunday, we'll have a nice long layover in the St. Louis airport, which I've never been in before. Hoping to have some nice barbecue as I watch some of the races on Sunday. Going to need to remember, though, to place my bets way ahead of time because Missouri is a non-legal horse racing betting state. Really, really hoping, by the way, that they get sports betting in November. fingers, toes, and eyes all crossed on that. If you have no strong opinion on that, just root for it for me, okay? Just for no other reason.
And that's going to do it for us. Obviously, check us out at onthewronglead.com, at wrong_lead on Twitter. You can catch me at Cherry Drink. Andrew is at Andrew Champagne. You can catch him also at winnersandwhiners.com, apparently their YouTube channel as well. And we'll be live streaming Thursday night, 7:30 Central, 8:30 Eastern, covering the Travers Day card. And I'll be on with the Wolf of Oak Lawn, Chase Sessoms, covering Friday's Saratoga card sometime, probably come out sometime Wednesday or Thursday. So be on the lookout for that, the notorious OTB. Let's make some money, guys. Have a good week.